Good evening and welcome to Orenda Books at Bedtime. I'm Karen Sullivan, publisher of Orenda Books, and tonight I'm taking you to the sea and to a little home in Hull for one of the most moving and beautifully written stories you may ever read. This is, of course, How to Be Brave by Louise Beach. This is her debut novel and one of the first books that I ever published at Orenda Books. When I got it in on submission, I put it in amongst the many books that were sent to us, but something about this book called to me and I found myself moving it straight up the pile, and I have to say that within 3 chapters I knew I would publish this book. It's immense. Louise is an extraordinary talent. She has now published 5 books with us, all of which are incredibly different, and she's been shortlisted for numerous awards for all of them. Everything from the Romantic Novelists Association Most Popular Romantic Novel of the Year, and Best Magazine's Best Book of the Year for her latest first psychological thriller, Call Me Stargirl. This is a very different book. It was a Guardian Reader's Choice when it was published, which is extraordinary for a debut in a genre that actually probably doesn't exist. But let's find out what it's all about. All the stories died that morning until we found the one we'd always known. When 9-year-old Rose is diagnosed with a life-threatening illness, Natalie must use her imagination to keep her daughter alive. They begin dreaming about and seeing a man in a brown suit who feels hauntingly familiar, a man who has something for them. Through the magic of storytelling, Natalie and Rose are transported to the Atlantic Ocean in 1943, to a lifeboat in which an ancestor survived for 50 days before being rescued. Poignant, beautifully written and tenderly told, How to Be Brave weaves together the contemporary story of a mother battling to save her child's life with an extraordinary true account of a fight for survival in the Second World War. This is a simply unforgettable debut that celebrates the power of words, the redemptive energy of a mother's love, and what it really means to be brave. Now, this is about bravery. This is about a child's bravery, a child who is diagnosed with a life-threatening illness, and it's about a man at sea's bravery, who's lost at sea for 50 days. These are, in fact, based on true stories. So Louise Beach's daughter was diagnosed with life-threatening type 1 diabetes when she was 9 years old, and the man in this story who was lost at sea is in fact her grandfather, who was in the South Atlantic during the Second World War when his merchant navy ship was torpedoed. He and 14 men made it onto a lifeboat, and it's not a spoiler to say that only 2 survived. He was one of them. This is a mesmerizing book, and I am going to turn you over now to the inimitable Louise Beach.
How to Be Brave is my first novel, was my first novel. Therefore, not only because of that, but partly because of that, it's a little bit of a special one for me. It's inspired by true events in my life, my daughter's illness, my grandfather's bravery at sea, and I intermingle the 2 stories. So it's kind of a creative work of non-fiction fiction. Good luck selling that, which was a problem, took me a long time. Anyway, so I'm going to read you an extract that is written as a form of a diary. I had to create a diary that was in my grandfather's voice. I'm going to read it, not in his exact voice. I'm unable to do that, but I'll do my best as a Yorkshire girl and his granddaughter. Okay, so this is from How to Be Brave and from Colin's diary. I remember when Bamford passed away, God rest his soul. I remember it only because it was so forgettable. I do not say that with rude disregard or disrespect for the man. Bamford was an amiable young chap. I say it because we were by then immune to death. He was the 6th to die, and we had quite literally run out of care. The shock when Scown died, and then young Fowler and Arnold, meant we had so little feeling left as time went on. It was the 29th day when Bamford passed, and we hardly prayed when we put his body to sea. Now, I am shocked by it. I think of him on the SS Lulworth Hill once when we had a tea break, and he told me about a girl he liked in his village and how he was too shy to say he liked her. I was coarse with him, and I told him to seize life by the shoulders. So I had a drink for him one night when I was home in our local. 1 beer for Bamford, to say we did care. We were just young and thirsty and tired and hungry, and we wanted to go home. And this is another little extract which I'm really chuffed I managed to read that because that bit always makes me super, super, super emotional. As does this bit. Okay, this was inspired by my daughter and I. Language, seriously, Rose, no need at all. No, she said, but you've got to stop asking and watching and fussing like all the time. It's just all normal now. Diabetes is just my life. Rose was right. Only I held her back now. She prepared the finger pricker as ably as I'd learnt to do, and her hands moved like they'd always been meant to do this. Mine, however, faltered. For a moment I felt lost without Colin's diary. I reached to touch the soft leather and found nothing but smooth, colourful paperbacks. Even when we hadn't actually opened it, I'd always known it was there, like an actor with his script in case of forgotten lines. I panicked and feared I wouldn't know the story. You don't need the diary, said Rose. I had kept up one string of lights at her request, and she shone gold and red and purple in the glow. I'm scared, I admitted. But don't you know, she said. It was never the diary or the newspaper bits or what anyone else told you. It was always you. Just you. You're the storyteller, and I love you.
Have you got your tissues out? Thank you so much, Louise. And thank you for listening. We'll see you next week for another episode of Orenda Books at Bedtime.